Every day, people surrender their peace to anger, offense, and the behavior of others. But true freedom begins when you learn that not everything deserves your reaction, and real strength is found in emotional self-control, wisdom, and unshakable inner peace. There is a level of peace available in life that most people never experience because they allow too many outside voices to control their emotions. Every day, people become angry over words, bothered by opinions, frustrated by behavior, and emotionally drained by situations they cannot control. One rude comment ruins their mood. One disagreement steals their peace. One difficult person occupies their thoughts for hours, sometimes even days. And without realizing it, they slowly surrender the power of their emotional life to other people. But true strength is not found in controlling everyone around you. True strength is found in learning how to control yourself. Life will always present difficult people. There will always be critics, rude individuals, selfish personalities, unfair situations, and moments that test your patience. You cannot escape human imperfection. But you can choose whether those things are allowed to disturb your spirit. Peace begins when you stop giving people the authority to determine your emotional condition. Many people believe anger gives them power, but uncontrolled anger usually reveals weakness. A person who cannot control their emotions becomes controlled by them. They react impulsively, speak recklessly, and later regret words spoken in frustration. Entire relationships have been damaged because someone reacted emotionally instead of wisely. One moment of anger can create years of pain. That is why emotional discipline is one of the greatest forms of wisdom. You must understand that not every offense deserves your reaction. Some situations are simply distractions designed to steal your peace. There are people who live in constant negativity, and they try to pull others into their emotional chaos. If you react to every insult, every criticism, and every provocation, you will spend your entire life emotionally exhausted. Sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. There is strength in remaining calm while others lose control. There is wisdom in refusing to engage every argument. Not because you are weak, but because you understand your peace is too valuable to waste on unnecessary conflict. One reason people become easily bothered is because they take everything personally. Someone criticizes them, and they immediately feel attacked. Someone disagrees with them, and they feel rejected. Someone behaves rudely, and they absorb that negativity into their own spirit. But mature people eventually realize that much of human behavior has very little to do with them personally. Hurting people often hurt others. Angry people spread anger. Insecure people criticize others to protect their own ego. Broken people create broken situations around them. When you understand this, you stop internalizing every negative interaction. You begin recognizing that someone else's behavior often reveals their own emotional condition more than anything about you. Another important truth is this: people can only disturb your peace if you allow them access to it. Some people hand over emotional control far too easily. A stranger's opinion ruins their confidence. A difficult coworker destroys their mood. A family disagreement steals their peace for an entire day. But emotional maturity teaches you to separate your inner stability from outside circumstances. You cannot control what others say. You cannot control what others think. You cannot control how others behave, but you can control your response, and that response determines whether you remain peaceful or emotionally trapped. Many people also struggle with anger because they expect perfection from imperfect people. They expect everyone to be fair, kind, mature, honest, and understanding all the time. But human beings are flawed. Some people are selfish. Some are immature. Some act out of insecurity, fear, jealousy, or emotional pain. Once you accept that imperfection exists everywhere, you stop being shocked every time someone behaves poorly. Acceptance reduces frustration. That does not mean you approve of bad behavior. It simply means you no longer allow it to control your emotions. You must also learn how to let things go quickly. One of the fastest ways to destroy your peace is replaying painful moments repeatedly in your mind. Some people stay angry not because of what happened once, but because they mentally relive it hundreds of times afterward. They replay conversations, imagine arguments, and rehearse offenses until bitterness grows stronger inside them. But peace cannot live in a mind constantly feeding resentment. There are things in life that simply do not deserve permanent residence in your thoughts. Not every insult deserves your attention. Not every disagreement deserves emotional attachment. Some things must be released quickly for the sake of your own emotional health. Forgiveness also plays a powerful role in freedom from anger. Many people think forgiveness benefits only the other person, but often forgiveness is what frees your own heart. Unforgiveness chains your emotions to painful experiences from the past. It keeps wounds alive. It allows old situations to continue controlling your present peace. Forgiveness does not mean you excuse wrong behavior. It does not mean trust must automatically return. It simply means you choose freedom over bitterness. There is tremendous power in refusing to carry emotional poison inside your spirit. You must also guard your environment carefully. Constant negativity affects the mind. Some people remain emotionally disturbed because they continually surround themselves with gossip, conflict, drama, and toxic conversations. Peaceful people are selective about what they allow into their mind and heart. Not every conversation deserves your participation. Not every conflict deserves your involvement. Not every opinion deserves your emotional reaction. Wisdom knows when to engage and when to walk away. And perhaps one of the greatest secrets to remaining unbothered is humility. Pride reacts quickly because pride constantly needs validation, recognition, and control. Humility, however, is secure enough not to fight every battle. Humble people do not feel the need to prove themselves to everyone. They are comfortable allowing misunderstandings to exist without becoming consumed by them. A peaceful life requires emotional maturity. It requires patience, perspective, discipline, and self-control. It means learning that your peace is more valuable than winning arguments, proving points, or reacting to every offense. Because at the end of life, very few arguments will truly matter. Very few insults will seem important. Many of the things people become angry about today will eventually appear small and temporary, but the condition of your spirit will always matter. So protect your peace carefully. Guard your mind wisely. Release offenses quickly. Control your emotions instead of allowing emotions to control you. Because the moment you stop allowing people's behavior to determine your inner condition, you begin living with a freedom and calmness that no outside situation can easily destroy. True peace begins when you stop allowing other people to control your emotional condition. Many people live with constant frustration because they have unknowingly handed over power of their inner life to outside circumstances. One rude comment ruins their day. One disagreement steals their peace. One difficult person occupies their thoughts for hours. They react emotionally to criticism, become offended easily, and carry anger long after situations have ended. Over time, this creates emotional exhaustion because their peace depends entirely on how others behave. But emotional freedom begins when you realize that your inner stability should not be controlled by external behavior. There will always be difficult people in life. Some individuals are negative, selfish, immature, dishonest, or emotionally unstable. You cannot avoid every conflict or prevent every offense. Human imperfection exists everywhere. But while you cannot control how others behave, you can control how deeply their behavior affects your spirit. That is where true strength is found. Most people think strength means dominating arguments, proving points, or reacting forcefully when offended. But real strength is often much quieter. It is the ability to remain calm when emotions are trying to pull you into chaos. It is the discipline to pause before reacting. It is the wisdom to protect your peace instead of surrendering it to every frustrating situation. A person who cannot control their emotions becomes controlled by them. That is why emotional self-control is one of the greatest forms of maturity. Anyone can react impulsively. Anyone can lose their temper, raise their voice, or speak recklessly in anger. But it takes wisdom to stay composed when provoked. One moment of emotional discipline can prevent years of regret. Many broken relationships were not destroyed by major problems alone, but by uncontrolled reactions during emotional moments. Harsh words spoken in anger can leave scars that remain for years. Temporary frustration can create permanent damage when emotions are allowed to rule decisions. Peaceful people understand something important. Not every situation deserves a reaction. Some arguments are distractions. Some insults are meaningless. Some opinions are not worth your emotional energy. When you stop reacting to everything, you begin protecting your peace. Another reason many people struggle emotionally is because they take too much personally. They interpret every criticism as an attack on their identity. They assume every rude interaction is about them. But mature people eventually realize that much of human behavior reflects the condition of the other person's heart more than anything about them. Hurting people often hurt others. Angry people spread anger. Insecure people criticize others to feel stronger. Emotionally wounded people create emotional chaos around them. Once you understand this, you stop internalizing every negative encounter. Instead of absorbing another person's frustration, you begin recognizing that their behavior often comes from battles happening inside themselves. This perspective changes everything. You no longer feel obligated to carry emotional burdens created by other people's problems. You stop allowing negativity to settle deeply into your spirit. You learn how to observe behavior without allowing it to poison your peace. That does not mean you become emotionless. It simply means you become emotionally disciplined. There is also tremendous power in learning to let things go quickly. Many people remain angry not because of what happened once, but because they replay the situation repeatedly in their mind. They relive conversations, imagine arguments, and mentally revisit offenses over and over again until bitterness grows stronger. But peace cannot survive inside a mind constantly feeding resentment. Not every offense deserves permanent residence in your thoughts. Some things must be released quickly for your own emotional health. Holding on to anger does not punish the other person as much as it damages your own peace. Bitterness drains emotional energy, clouds judgment, and slowly steals joy from life. That is why forgiveness is such an important part of emotional freedom. Forgiveness does not mean you approve of harmful behavior. It does not mean trust is automatically restored. It simply means you refuse to allow pain and resentment to continue controlling your emotional life. Forgiveness frees your heart from carrying unnecessary emotional weight. Peaceful people also understand the importance of boundaries. Some individuals constantly disturb your peace because they repeatedly bring negativity, drama, manipulation, or conflict into your life. Wisdom teaches you that protecting your peace is not selfish. You are not required to engage every argument or remain emotionally available to every toxic situation. Sometimes peace requires distance. Sometimes wisdom walks away quietly. Sometimes silence protects your spirit better than explanation. Emotional maturity also means accepting that you cannot control everyone's opinions. Some people will misunderstand you no matter how sincere you are. Some will criticize you no matter how hard you try. Some will dislike you for reasons that have nothing to do with you personally. If your peace depends on universal approval, you will never experience lasting emotional stability. True peace comes from inner security, not external validation. And perhaps one of the greatest signs of growth is when you stop feeling the need to prove yourself constantly. You stop fighting every misunderstanding. You stop defending yourself against every criticism. You become secure enough to remain calm even when others misjudge you. That kind of peace is powerful because it cannot easily be shaken by outside behavior. Life becomes much lighter when you stop carrying emotional reactions everywhere you go. Your mind becomes clearer. Your relationships become healthier. Your spirit becomes calmer. You no longer waste energy on unnecessary anger, constant irritation, or endless emotional battles. And eventually you realize something deeply important. People only control your peace when you give them permission to. The moment you take back responsibility for your emotional condition, you begin living with a freedom, stability, and calmness that no outside situation can easily destroy. Freedom from anger begins the moment you stop taking everything personally. Many people carry emotional burdens that were never meant to belong to them because they internalize every negative interaction. A rude comment becomes a personal attack. A disagreement feels like rejection. A criticism becomes proof of inadequacy. Over time, they become emotionally sensitive to every opinion and every behavior around them, constantly disturbed by situations they cannot control. But emotional maturity teaches you something powerful. Not everything people do is truly about you. Human beings act from their own emotions, wounds, fears, insecurities, and frustrations. Sometimes people are angry because they are carrying stress you know nothing about. Sometimes they criticize others because they secretly feel insecure themselves. Sometimes they behave harshly because they never learned emotional control. Once you understand this, you stop allowing every negative interaction to damage your peace. You begin realizing that someone else's behavior often reflects their own inner condition more than your worth. This understanding changes the way you move through life. Instead of reacting emotionally to every difficult situation, you become more observant and less reactive. You no longer absorb negativity as quickly because you understand that carrying unnecessary emotional weight only harms your own spirit. And one of the greatest skills you can develop is the ability to release offenses quickly. Many people remain angry for long periods, not because the original situation was so enormous, but because they continue feeding it mentally. They replay conversations repeatedly. They imagine arguments that never happened. They rehearse painful moments over and over until frustration grows stronger. But peace cannot survive inside a mind constantly reliving offense. Every time you revisit anger mentally, you strengthen its hold over your emotions. That is why learning to let things go is not weakness, it is wisdom. Some situations are simply not worth carrying into tomorrow. Some comments are not worth losing sleep over. Some people are not worth sacrificing your peace for. Peaceful people understand the value of emotional release. They do not cling to every insult. They do not store every disappointment. They do not allow temporary offenses to become permanent bitterness. And forgiveness is one of the most powerful ways to free yourself emotionally. Many people misunderstand forgiveness because they think it means excusing harmful behavior. But forgiveness is not pretending wrong actions were acceptable. It is choosing not to allow pain to continue controlling your spirit. Unforgiveness keeps wounds alive. It ties your emotions to the past and forces you to relive painful experiences repeatedly. Some people remain emotionally trapped for years because they refuse to release resentment. The person who hurt them may have moved on long ago, but internally they are still carrying anger every day. That kind of emotional weight eventually damages the heart, mind, and spirit. Forgiveness does not always restore trust. It does not always repair relationships, but it restores your peace. The moment you stop feeding resentment, you begin reclaiming emotional freedom. Another important part of staying unbothered is learning how to protect your peace through boundaries. Some people constantly disturb your emotional stability because they repeatedly bring drama, manipulation, criticism, or negativity into your life. And many individuals tolerate unhealthy behavior because they fear conflict or rejection. But wisdom understands that protecting your peace is necessary. You are not required to attend every argument you are invited to. You are not obligated to engage every negative conversation. You do not have to remain emotionally available to toxic behavior. Sometimes the healthiest response is distance. Boundaries are not acts of hatred. They are acts of emotional wisdom. They prevent unnecessary chaos from taking control of your inner life. Peaceful people are careful about who they allow access to their emotions because they understand that constant negativity eventually affects the mind. You must also learn how to stop seeking validation from everyone. Many people become angry or emotionally disturbed because they desperately want approval. They need people to agree with them, understand them, praise them, or treat them perfectly. But as long as your emotional stability depends on human approval, your peace will remain fragile. Some people will misunderstand you. Some will criticize you unfairly. Some will dislike you without reason. And if you spend your life trying to control everyone's opinions, you will live in constant emotional frustration. True peace comes from inner security. It comes from becoming emotionally stable enough that outside opinions no longer shake your identity so easily. Mature people stop feeling the need to defend themselves constantly. They become comfortable allowing misunderstandings to exist without losing emotional control. This does not mean becoming passive or weak. It means becoming secure. There is tremendous strength in calmness. Anyone can explode emotionally. Anyone can react impulsively. But remaining peaceful during difficult moments requires discipline and wisdom. A calm person thinks before speaking. A calm person refuses to let temporary emotions control permanent decisions. And one of the greatest secrets to emotional freedom is perspective. Most things people become angry about today will not matter years from now. Many arguments are temporary. Many offenses are small. Yet people damage relationships, lose peace, and carry bitterness over situations that eventually become insignificant. Perspective helps you recognize what truly deserves your emotional energy. Life is too short to spend constantly offended, irritated, and emotionally exhausted. Peace is far too valuable to hand over to every difficult person or frustrating situation. There will always be negativity in the world, but you do not have to allow that negativity to live inside you. And when you finally learn how to stop taking everything personally, Release offenses quickly, forgive freely, and protect your peace wisely. Something remarkable begins happening inside you. Your mind becomes calmer. Your emotions become steadier. Your reactions become wiser. You stop living controlled by anger and begin living with a quiet strength that cannot easily be shaken by outside circumstances. That is real emotional freedom, the ability to remain peaceful even when the world around you is not.